Welcome to the AEN Stories channel. It started with something small. It always does. The first night I noticed it was just her phone, face down on the nightstand instead of charging. Normally, Hannah hated letting her battery run low. She treated that phone like a newborn. But that night, she tossed it down, screen dark, and rolled over with a smile too easy to be real. I didn't say anything. Not then. The next morning, she left early for yoga. I stayed in bed a little longer, half asleep, half thinking. When I finally got up, I found her gym bag still sitting by the door. Her sneakers, too. But her favorite perfume bottle was missing from the shelf. Yoga didn't need perfume. That was the first lie I caught, but not the last. For weeks, small pieces of my life with Hannah stopped making sense. Receipts for places we never went. Giggling phone calls taken in the bathroom. Her clothes smelling faintly of a cologne I didn't own. She was slipping, and I was watching, pretending not to notice, because the alternative terrified me. One night she came home late. I was on the couch with the TV low. She thought I was asleep. She tiptoed past me, humming under her breath. A little too cheerful for someone who just worked a 14-hour shift. I followed her with my eyes, not my feet. And when the bedroom light clicked off, I felt it. My heart finally admitting what my mind already knew. Hannah wasn't just distant. She was gone. The breaking point came at 6:12 on a Tuesday morning. I'll never forget the sound. Laughter. Not the tired, distracted kind she gave me when I tried to joke at breakfast. No, this was deeper, freer. She was in the bathroom with the door locked, whispering between bursts of giggles. And then a sentence that carved me open. "Stop it. I told you I can't text when he's home." He. Not Daniel, not my husband. Just some other man she couldn't resist. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the carpet, every second heavier than the last. My stomach turned, but my mind sharpened. For the first time in months, I wasn't blind. When she walked out, wrapped in steam and smelling like lavender soap, she kissed me on the cheek like nothing happened. Her lips were cold. My skin burned where she touched me. I smiled back. I pretended. But inside, something cracked so quietly it didn't make a sound. From that day, I started documenting. At first, it was clumsy. Screenshots of half-open texts when she left her phone on the counter. Notes on my laptop. Time she left, time she returned, what she wore. I even started snapping photos of little things, the missing perfume, the unfamiliar wine glasses in the sink, the 2 train tickets I found crumpled in her purse. But the more I gathered, the calmer I felt. It wasn't rage. Not yet. It was control. The one thing she thought I didn't have anymore. Hannah kept playing her part. Morning pecks on the cheek, polite small talk at dinner, the occasional love you tossed out like spare change. But her eyes betrayed her every time. She looked at me like I was furniture. Solid, reliable, invisible. She thought I was fading. She had no idea I was sharpening. The night it became undeniable, I was parked across from a little wine bar downtown. She had told me she was meeting co-workers, but when she arrived, she wasn't carrying her laptop or her tote bag. She was carrying the same clutch she used on our anniversary date. 15 minutes later, he showed up. Tall, dark suit, the kind of man who wore his confidence like cologne. He kissed her on the mouth before they even sat down. And she laughed. That same laugh from behind the bathroom door. I took photos. Not because I wanted revenge yet. Not even because I thought I'd show them to anyone. I just needed proof, for myself, that I wasn't crazy. That the woman I built my life around had already left me long before she walked into that bar. I drove home alone, parked 2 blocks away, slept in the car instead of next to her, because the idea of sharing a roof felt poisonous. That was the night Hannah lost her husband, and the night I started becoming something else. After that night at the wine bar, my world split in 2. On the surface, I was the same husband, steady, predictable, boring. Underneath, I became a shadow, documenting every breath she lied through. I started small. Her calendar was synced to mine, But suddenly appointments disappeared. A dentist visit canceled. A work dinner erased. Weekend plans postponed. When I asked why, she shrugged it off, claiming she just wanted space for herself. But her space always matched the gaps in my screenshots. Her purse was another gold mine. I never rifled through it before. I respected privacy. But after betrayal, privacy dies. Inside, I found receipts from hotels out of town, always 2 meals on the bill. I found movie tickets from theaters she swore she never had time to visit. And once, tucked in the smallest pocket, I found a receipt for lingerie. Not my size, not her style. Definitely not for me. I kept everything, labeled, dated, organized in a file I called the autopsy. One afternoon, she told me she was heading to a leadership retreat. 3 days, no phones allowed, strict corporate training. She even printed an itinerary with color-coded workshops. I nodded, smiled, wished her luck, and the moment she drove off, I packed my own bag. I knew where her retreat was. I knew the hotel name. Because I called in advance, pretending to be her assistant, confirming her reservation. And when she left, I drove 2 hours north and checked into a cheap motel across the street. That night, I waited, watched the entrance. She never showed. At 11:37, though, I saw her car. She parked. Not at the hotel, but at a boutique guest house 2 doors down. Out stepped the man from the wine bar. Same dark suit, same arrogance. He placed his hand low on her back, and she melted into him like I had never existed. I didn't storm across the street. I didn't scream. I wrote it down. Time, date, details, proof. Then I sat in my car with the engine off, staring at their window glowing faintly behind the curtains. I imagined them laughing. Imagined the perfume I bought her staining his shirt. And I realized she wasn't even hiding anymore. Hannah wasn't afraid of losing me. She believed she already had. For the next 2 days, I documented everything. She came and went with him. They ate breakfast at the cafe on the corner. They walked through the park, laughing like newlyweds. She never once touched her conference hotel. Meanwhile, I filled pages of notes, photos of her car outside the guest house, credit card charges lining up with the meals she ordered. Each detail became another nail in the coffin of our marriage. But the strangest part? I wasn't angry anymore. I was calm, focused, watching her deceit with the detachment of a scientist studying an experiment. I realized my anger had burned out long before. All that was left was clarity. When she finally came home, suitcase in hand, she was glowing. She hummed while unpacking, even tossed her fake itinerary into the trash. I said nothing. I kissed her forehead. She smiled, thinking she had fooled me again. That night, while she showered, I went into the garage, pulled out a stack of moving boxes. Because I wasn't going to wait for her to end things. I wasn't going to beg for answers or forgiveness. I was going to vanish. Phase 1 was practical. Over the next 2 weeks, I rented a small apartment under a different name. Month-to-month lease, nothing fancy, just 4 walls that were mine. I bought a prepaid phone, opened a new bank account, rerouted my mail to a digital address in another state. Phase 2 was quieter. I slowly moved things out of the house, clothes, documents, valuables. In their place, I left duplicates, old shoes, extra shirts, enough to keep her illusion alive while I slipped away piece by piece. She never noticed, because when you're busy lying, you stop paying attention. The final straw came one night while she thought I was in the garage. She was on the phone, her voice sharp but playful. I heard her say, "He's still here, but not for long. He'll fade out eventually." Don't worry, baby, fade out. That's what I was to her, a candle waiting to burn itself down. But she was wrong. I wasn't going to fade. I was going to disappear. And when I did, she'd choke on the silence I left behind. I closed my notebook, labeled that page, and smiled for the first time in months. Because betrayal doesn't end with heartbreak. It ends with strategy. Friday night, the table was set. Candles lit, wine breathing, her favorite risotto steaming on the plates. To Hannah, it looked like a reconciliation dinner. To me, it was a stage. She came downstairs in the green dress I hadn't seen in years, the one she wore the night we bought this house. She smiled nervously, maybe even hopeful, like she could charm me back into blindness. We sat across from each other, the silence thicker than the wine in our glasses. She tried small talk, work, traffic, yoga. I nodded, offered polite one-word answers. Inside, I counted down. At exactly 7:30, the doorbell rang. Her brow furrowed. "Are we expecting someone?" I didn't answer. I stood, walked to the door and opened it. Her parents stepped inside first, then her sister, then two of our closest friends. Each carried a sealed envelope I had hand-delivered earlier that week. Hannah froze, wine glass halfway to her lips. What is this?" No one spoke. They sat down quietly, opening the envelopes one by one. Photos spilled onto the table. Screenshots, receipts, hotel check-ins. Her handwriting on love notes not addressed to me. Her mother covered her mouth. Her father's jaw clenched. Her sister whispered, "Oh my God." And Hannah? She looked at me like she didn't recognize the man sitting across from her. "Daniel," she started, voice cracking. "This is insane. You... Stop." My voice was steady, flat, final. "I'm not here to argue. I'm here to tell the truth. The truth you thought I'd never find. The truth they deserved to know." I slid a final envelope across the table. Inside, divorce papers, already signed. "This marriage is over. You don't own me anymore." She stood there, trembling, mascara streaking down her face. For once, there were no lies left, just silence. And that silence was louder than any scream. She stormed out 20 minutes later, slamming the door so hard the wine glasses rattled. Her parents sat in stunned silence. My friends offered awkward pats on the shoulder. I just sat there calm, sipping my wine. Because this wasn't revenge. This was release. The next weeks were strange. Quiet mornings, peaceful nights. My new apartment smelled of fresh paint and takeout, but it was mine. No shadows of her perfume. No laughter that wasn't meant for me. She texted once, then twice, begging, pleading, promising she could change. I didn't respond, because when someone breaks you that completely, their words become noise. The last time she showed up at my door, she looked smaller, worn down. She asked if I could just talk to her, just 5 minutes. I let her finish her speech, then said the only sentence that mattered. "You taught me the value of silence, and now that's all I have for you." I closed the door, for good. Here's what I've learned. Betrayal doesn't explode. It doesn't shout. It whispers. And if you're paying attention, you hear every word. Hannah thought she erased me with lies, but I erased her with peace. Walking away wasn't weakness. It was wisdom. And it was the only way to become myself again. Thank you for staying with me through this story. If it hit you, if it made you think, subscribe to AEN Stories. New raw confessions and true stories drop every single day, and there's already plenty waiting for you to watch and listen right now. Don't miss the next one.